Have you ever wanted to get that data from a specific website? Well, that's what we'll be doing today. My name is Samuel Do, and today what I'll be doing is I'll be taking you through web scraping using Python, and we will be actually web scraping 3 websites: the NBA, Hacker News, and also Books to Scrape. So to begin with, we will be extracting the title, the price, the availability, and also the rating of each of the books right here. You can see what you have to do first is you have to right click, hit inspect. So what you do is you select this right here on your left. This allows you to select the elements. So you have to actually like look at one of the books right here specifically. So we need the whole of the element, which is right here. So you can see that this is a list here. This is an ordered list, and then the elements are exactly the same, except the information they have is much more different. So we select the first one, and we notice that there is an article right here. And mind you, you should really be mindful of the attributes. Okay, so we open up the article. We can see here there's H3. So what I'm looking for is the title, and we can see that the title is right here, and there is an attribute for that here. This is the information we need right here, and we have everything. The price, we have it right there. The availability is right here, and the title and the rating. So to begin with, we need to actually bring in the libraries that we'll be using. So we actually do a simple import. So request, this would allow us to make HTTP requests, and Beautiful Soup, this will allow you actually to parse the HTML, and the CSV, this would allow us actually to put the data into a CSV file, and then the last one actually allows you to have the arguments in your CLI. Next of all, we need the URL of the web page, which is the same as right here, and we have it in a specific variable named URL. Next of all, we'll be dealing with the parser. Okay, so we actually set up the parser, and what we need is the file name. So the user will actually provide us the file name, and next up we use this. This is a context manager. This would allow us actually to actually write the file. So here we will be writing the file name, and it is a CSV. This is at the mode which is write. So essentially this is what we are doing right here. And now what's happening in this line here is we are writing a row, and these will be essentially the columns that we are using. Next up here we need a header. This is essential is because you are web scraping and you wouldn't want actually to be taken down or like reported. Response, this here is actually where we are making the request, and once we like make the request, we can actually receive the web page, and we are using UTF-8. We also instantiate the Beautiful Soup, and what's happening here is that we are selecting the elements named article with a class name of product underscore pod. So if you had seen right here, there is an article element which exists in each of the items in our list right here. So what we'll be doing is we have it in a list. So here, this will actually make us a list. We will be iterating over this list. While we iterate over this list, we are extracting information. Specifically the title, we are selecting a H3 and then a tag. Well, it's an element, okay? So we are right here H3, and then we are looking at the child, which is here, and then we are selecting specifically the attribute, which is the title. So we are selecting this right there. Then we are looking at the price. The price, we are selecting it using a class name. Is because it's actually beginning with a dot. So you would see it should be right here, price color, which is right here. Okay, so we are selecting the text, which is what's in the middle there, which is right there. Then we are now doing a small thing here, which I'll explain a bit later. So then we need it as a float, as a number. We look at availability also. We look for this class name, which is dot in stock, which is right here, meaning that this is available. Then we're looking at the rating, and we're looking at the star rating, which should be right here. The issue we have here is that it is held as a class name, specifically here 3. So what we need is this name right there. That's why we actually selected this attribute and we used 1. It's because it is in the position of 1, 0, 1. Then we are writing a row, okay, of this information. So we are iterating over each of the books right here, doing the same thing and then writing a row in our CSV file. Then after that, we actually print successful, which will actually happen last. Okay, so let me actually run the script for you. So we can press Ctrl J and we are right here. We should also make sure that we're in the same directory. This is actually on my GitHub, so if you'd like, you can actually use it from there. Okay, so we can actually do that, and then we say books underscore scrape underscore no dot py. Remember that we need also the file name, so we'll say we can say tutorial underscore file. Then we can run the script. Okay, fetching the page. Okay, books found 20. As you can see, it's what was written right here. So we can see here tutorial and we have it in here. This is your data right there. As you can see that these are the same. A light in the attic, which is right here. And also the prices and everything is there. So that essentially is the first script. Now, let's move on to the next script. The next website is news.ycombinator.com. So what we'll be doing is we'll be extracting the titles of these articles, points, and also the number of comments, and also when it was released. This is actually organized by the date. So what we do is we right click again. So now, usually in web scraping, you should actually like look exactly at which information you need. So you should also have the familiarity of HTML. So you notice that here there is a table, which is amazing. We look at the body and we see that here there are the table rows right here. What you can see is that there is a theme which is happening right here. Usually the first row is the main information, and then the second row is the metadata, which is right here. So we will be iterating over this. So then you open up each row and you can see all the information in there. So for instance, in here we can see the points and everything. You can see when it was released and all that information. So first of all, we have to do the imports: requests, beautiful soup, CSV, and the parser. Next of all, what we need is the details of our parser. So what we are looking at is the date and also the file name, which is essentially the date which is right. Next up, you need also the URL. One other thing is that I actually looked, the parameters we have here is specifically the day and also the page, which is really essential. When you look here, you only have this URL here, but the parameters were like missing. So using this right here, you can actually look at information from another day. And if you want, you can like loop and have like information of the whole week. Next up, we are writing the file right here, and then we are making a row which will have rank, title, link, points, author, age, and comments. Then we can make a new line, and what's next now is we'll be iterating over the code right there. Okay, so here specifically the page is like this. This is actually page 1 right here, and if you hit more you would reach another page and another. We only want the 2 pages, so we will be beginning at 1 and we will be ending at page number 2. So next up, what we will do here is in our URL specifically. So what we'll be doing is we'll be adding these arguments in our URL specific right here and right here, which will be the date and also the page. Next of all, we add the header, and then we also look at our response. We also instantiate beautiful soup, and we now select the posts as a whole. So what we will do right here is you can see the table row, which is right here, and you can see it's having a class name of a thing, which is right here. So we need these elements which are responding with the specific details we have. Since it is in a table, we are extracting each row which is having the specific details, which is the class name which we have seen right here, which is a thing. Next up, we will be iterating over each of these elements right here. Okay, so first of all, we will be selecting the rank, which is having dot rank. What we are doing next is we are looking now at the title. So specifically the title is having the title line class name, and it has specifically the title is having a title line class name. So we can look for it right here. Should be right there, and then it is in the element A, which is right here. So then we are selecting this element and we are looking at the text, which is right here. We have the text, we look also at links, and we also look at the rest of this information. Next up, we also look at the score, which is also in here. So essentially what we're looking at is elements, class names, and the rest of the attributes we have in HTML, which will be IDs and more of that. So then in the end, we write a new row here, which is having the rank, the title, and more information there. And we'll be iterating over this loop. So we iterate, and then we have all of that information. Then it actually makes you the file. So when we run this specifically, then you press enter. Okay, so we had an issue. We're in the wrong directory. Now we can actually run the command once again, and we should actually have a new file. Okay, scraping the page 1. Okay, 30 posts, and the file is ready. Okay, so these are the news articles right here, as you can see. And if we look at number 1, we have here, don't post generated or AI edited comments, which is right there. And you can see all the information we had extracted and wanted is in there. Now in the repository, there is a bonus, and this information here will actually help you clean the data set. So let me show you why you would need the data set actually cleaned. Is because if you look at the ranking, there is a dot which we would wanna remove from there. We would also want to remove the words here, points, and also comments. So removing that would require us actually to use another script, or if you want, when you are actually scraping, you may remove that. Lastly, what we'll be scraping are the standings in the NBA. So that should actually be right here, like this. What we need is this information right there. Maybe you would want to use it in your application and whatnot. How we'll be actually web scraping this website is using an API, which they are actually using. The reason we are doing that is because the data on their website is actually dynamic, and it also loads with JavaScript, which is another issue. How you would know what is the API they are using is you look in the network. So these are the endpoints and also the data that they are fetching specifically. Then what you can actually do right here is you can refresh the page. Once you've refreshed the page, you should begin seeing information right here. You can even scroll through the page, because other websites load only their elements once you scroll. So you should actually scroll. You could also do this with Selenium, which I can explain in another video. Then you look for the specific API they are using, and this is the endpoint right there. We have it right here. So what you do is you select that, and you'll see that it will be loading in the browser forever. So I'll explain why. So the main reason it will be loading and you won't receive that information is because it's looking at where this request is actually originating from, which is why in the information here we have in the header, we have an origin. So it knows that, okay, this is actually from the NBA website and not, a script you are running and whatnot. So it would accept it. So this is our URL of the API they are using right here. If we actually have, you can see it's right there, and it's also right here. These are the parameters here. If you want, you can actually manipulate them, and you could receive information. Then next of all, we're looking at response. This is where we are making the request, so that we actually download this web page. Once we have that, so we're looking at now the results set essentially. So since this is an API, it will be in JSON, and what we need is specifically the element which is at the beginning. That's why we have here 0. So essentially what we would need is the rows and also the columns. So for the rows, we have it as row set, which will be in your JSON. So if you actually print this response right here, you should actually see these are the values you have in your JSON. Okay, so we have rows there, and then we are making a data frame with the rows and also the columns. So essentially pandas allows you to make a data frame, which is essentially a way for you to store your data in your program and actually manipulate your data in your program. So these will be the headings we would want right here in the data frame. And then specifically on the team, we are looking at pending the city and also the name of the team. If you look here, you can actually see that the city names are here, and also the team names are also here, which are actually separated in the response we had received. So then now we redefine the columns again, and here you can see that we have only the team and it's no more the city and name. So it's now only the team specifically. This information is listed there, and then we can actually save this into our CSV file right there, which is named NBA underscore standings.csv. So if we run it right there, you should see that it should actually scrape the data, and then we will have the live information. And you can see this is what was printed out for us, and if we open the file, we can see it right there. There are the standings, there is the information, and if you really want to be sure, you can actually look at it right here. These are the data. Okay, so we look at number 1, the West, which is Oklahoma City, and their win streak is at 6, which is also here 6, and that is the information right there. Do with this information what you will, and this is actually web scraping 101. And if you want like more detailed web scraping video, write in the comments web scrape, and then I can make a live stream. Like the video, let me know what you think about web scraping and what else you would need on this. Make sure you actually look at the repository. It's because it has this information there.